move into the houses and rising signs. So grab your chart if you know your rising sign, that's perfect. If you want to jot down for your sun sign too, we'll go through one at a time. So for Aries, this is, of course, a first house new moon, right? It's your birthday new moon. So in a way, you can use this any way you want. The outcome, of course, is going to be constrained by the planetary expressions, right? So keep that in mind. But the first house specifically has to do with your personality, with your identity, your self-expression, your physical body, how you interact with the world, right? And so you can tap into it that way, or if you have some other way, because the first house represents you. It's a very personal house. It's a very personal way of using the energy. You can really take it whatever direction you feel inspired to take it, and you might want to wait till we get to the prompts in the third part of our broadcast, unless you already have an idea as you're coming to the broadcast. If you have Taurus rising, this is a 12th house new moon for you. So that's privacy and seclusion, it's spirituality, it's the unconscious mind, it's beliefs, it's institutions of seclusion can be coming up right now. So if that's something that you are intending to work with, or you have the opportunity to work with, be aware for those of you that maybe have Taurus rising. That's also something. 12th house also has to do with our escapist tendencies and our addictions. So it's not always necessarily positive behaviors, right? And then it also has to do with dreams, very much tied to the unconscious mind and dreams. If you have Gemini rising, this is, of course, 11th house. So that's friends and organizations. It's hopes and dreams. That's a fun way to tap into an 11th house new moon, is to take a step towards a hope or dream that you have. If you have Cancer rising, it's going to be a 10th house new moon for you. So that's career, awards, achievement, status, recognition, those sorts of things. If you have a professional project that you want to get a jump on, especially something that's kind of trailblazing, that's going to take you into new territory, or that's going to, take you in your field in an area where other people haven't explored before, that'd be a fantastic way to use 10th house new moon for Cancer ascendant. Rosalind says, I'm excited for this new moon. I kind of am too, partly because, it's the new moon in Aries, right? It's like the brand new moon in that originating sign, and so the energy is fresh. It's so full of potential in any real kind of direction that you might want to take it. And so I do think that it's kind of exciting in that regard, but there's a lot of, I think, risk potential around this new moon, just because of what Mars is doing and what Mercury will be doing. And what he is doing. I mean, because they're both, it's what signs they're in, and then it's also the fact that one's out of bounds and the other is going to join them before the month is out. Rosalind says, transit Mars is transiting in my 11th house, and I'm surprised that today I decided to be social and go to Cinco de Mayo Brew Fest and have lots of fun. Good for you. Good for you. That's exciting. Yeah, do new things. Do new things. That's what a new moon in Aries is about. It's about doing new things. So if you have Leo rising, this can be 9th house. So that's higher education. So it's about learning new things, especially about learning new things around your career, your profession. Long distance travel and communication, so any kind of international travel, or even, if you live in a bigger country, if you're traveling, I would say anywhere more than 500 miles away could be considered long distance travel. Long distance communications, these are things like publishing and broadcasting. If you do any kind of live streaming or podcasting or Twitch streaming, any of that could be considered long distance communication. Religion, philosophy, law, those are all 9th house matters. Rosalind says, conjunct my natal and progressed Mercury. There you go. So this is really going to bring your Mercury into the picture, especially as Mercury goes out of bounds too, huh? If you have Virgo rising, we have 8th house new moon. So this is other people's resources that are at your disposal. Monies or resources that come to you through your partner. It has to do with things like taxes, insurance, debts, but also investment earnings, wills and estates, winnings, lottery winnings, bonus and commission income, things like that. If you want to use this in the more esoteric themes of the 8th house, the occult is also 8th house ruled, death, rebirth, transformation, those sorts of themes. So if there's something you really want to transform in your life, 8th house also is about our psychology and our psychological nature, right? And it's also very much a house of healing. It's ruled by Pluto, which has to do with regeneration and healing. And so when you have a new moon in the 8th house, this is really an opportunity if you want to explore healing, inner healing in some sort of way. You can really leverage an 8th house new moon to do that. Libra rising, you're going to have a 7th house new moon. So this is marriage and partnership. This is, if you're in any sort of business arrangements, relationships with other people in general are all 7th house. If you're looking specifically at the descendant, you may want to check the descendant in your chart and see if you have any planets touching it or near it. But when we're talking about the descendant specifically, we're speaking to things that we might unconsciously reject about ourselves and project onto other people in our lives. And with Martian energy being what it is right now, sometimes what we're projecting is that anger, is that aggression, right? So be really, really careful because accidents and injuries could come up with this, especially due to rash, headlong behavior. The types of injuries that we're talking about when we're talking about Aries are like head injuries, punctures, knives, projectiles. Like those are things that Mars rules, right? If you're noticing that kind of stuff or aggression from other people directed specifically at you, road rage incidents, things like that, check yourself. Take a moment and spend some time getting real and getting internal and explore maybe, is there something that you need to spend some time with and work through that you might be inviting into your experience through what's external because you're not dealing with it internal, right? Like this is one way that planetary energies can express. So I really want you to be cognizant of that, especially for Libra rising, because you're experiencing this in your 7th house, and that specifically has to do with the relationship dynamic, okay? And then the 7th house, lastly, can also be about open enemies and rivals. And so you may experience through those channels as well. Jonna says, 7th house, huh? Right. I hear you, girl. I have Chiron in the 7th, but it's not conjunct the descendant. That's good. That's good. It'd be interesting to see if you have it conjunct or how you have it in synastry with your partner. That could shed some light, give you some clues as to how you can work with it, and maybe even how you can explore healing together or independently just by understanding the other better. Okay? 6th house for Scorpio ascendant. So this is work, health, pets, daily routines, employees fall under the 6th house, habits, your schedule. So with a new moon there, this is a really awesome opportunity to adopt a new habit, a healthy habit, right? Or to make a change in your diet that's geared towards helping to improve your health in some way. So maybe consider exploring new foods, new ways of enjoying healthy eating, new ways of tapping into physical activity. Maybe exercise would be a great habit to get into with an Aries new moon in the 6th house. And with Mars being what he is, that would be a good way to channel some of that energy, right? For Sagittarius rising, this is a 5th house new moon. So this is creativity and children. This is romance and true love, not marriage, right? That's Venus. That's 7th house. 5th house is Leo. 5th house rules the heart, right? So things we love, things we enjoy, things that are pleasurable. Sports is also 5th house activity. Risk-taking and gambling are also 5th house activities. But especially maybe consider sports and creative activities as good channels for your Mars energy if you have Sagittarius rising. For Capricorn rising, this is going to be 4th house new moon. So this is home and family. This is your real estate. It's your parents. It's later life. So here with the new moon, you could use this to renew or renovate your living space in some way, or if you've been thinking about moving to a new town or a new state, or a new community, a new neighborhood, you could potentially use a new moon in Aries to begin exploring, right? Because isn't that what Aries is all about? Exploration and braving new territory, right? So you could use the new moon in Aries in that way to explore new places that you might like to live, that just kind of ignite that passion in you. If you have Aquarius rising, it's going to be 4th house new moon. So this is communication and travel that happens local to you over short distances. It's also siblings and neighbors, your extended families like cousins, aunts and uncles. Your immediate environment is also related to the 3rd house. Okay, so here I would warn you, I would be cautious about the risk of conflict or any kind of I don't know what the words are I want to go for, but any kind of aggression directed between neighbors, between siblings, between members of the extended family, right? And I would also encourage you to be super, super careful if you do have to do a lot of traveling around this new moon, just because Mars is being so weird. If you have mantras that help keep you calm, cool, and collected, keep those when you're in the car on the road, right? Just to kind of help you chill as much as possible, because other folks around you may not be chilling, right? We don't all follow astrology, and we don't all know how to work with these kinds of energies. So just keep that in mind. For travel, I'm kind of concerned about, I want you to be aware. I want you to be cognizant, vigilant, proactive, be safety minded. Okay. For Pisces, this is its 2nd house new moon. So that's wealth and possessions. It's money that you earn from the work that you do. It's movable assets. It's your business. So with this being a new moon, this is a wonderful opportunity to take an initiative step towards augmenting your income, adding to it, whether that's through, talking to an employer about a raise, or taking a second job, or starting your own side business, doing something that might help boost your earning capacity. And then with new moons in the 2nd house, we can also be exploring whether our values are changing, and whether something new is becoming important to us, or maybe we take on a new priority. Okay. They can also trigger expenses sometimes, and that's also something to be aware of, because Mars can increase that kind of activity, both the inflow and the outflow, potentially when he's involved with your 2nd house, especially when he's transiting your 2nd house. So for Aries archetypes and themes, that's what we're going to talk about in the 3rd part of our video. So you may want to grab a pen and paper if you haven't already, just to jot down notes if anything jumps out as relevant to you as we move through this part of the broadcast.